Hello and welcome students. Today we are going to learn about civics of standard 8 lesson number 2, the Indian Parliament. Last lecture we learned about the different systems of government, and today we are going to learn about how the Indian Parliament works and its functions. The legislature at the national level is called the Parliament. That means the legislature, which is the law making body at the central level or the national level, is called the parliament. So, what does it consist of? What does the parliament consist of? The parliament consists of the president and the two houses of parliament. Now, which are these two houses of the parliament? One is Lok Sabha and the other one is Rajya Sabha. So the two houses of the parliament are called the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Let us see in detail about both these houses. So let us go to the first house of the parliament, which is the Lok Sabha. Now the Lok Sabha is called as the lower house of the parliament, or it is also called as the first house of the parliament. And the members of this Lok Sabha are directly elected by the people. And that is the reason why the Lok Sabha is called as the first house of the parliament. So it is the lower house, it's also called as the first house, and the members are directly elected by the people. Let us see what is the tenure of the Lok Sabha and how the members get elected. Now, the members are directly elected by the people from their various territories or areas, territorial constituencies that is known as, and they can be or remain in the office for 5 years. And as we all know that the elections takes place after every 5 years, which is called as the general elections. So after 5 years we have general elections. What happens if the Lok Sabha gets dissolved before the term completing the term of 5 years? And in such case, what happens is they call sometimes as the midterm elections. So midterm elections are held to elect fresh members if in case they do not complete the 5 years. Let us see the number of members which are appointed in the Lok Sabha. There can be a maximum of 550 plus 2, which is 552 members in total in the Lok Sabha. Now, 550 from the territorial constituencies and two members are appointed by the president. That too from the Anglo-Indian community to the Lok Sabha. And some seats are reserved for members belonging to the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe. Now, this is appointed so that they can give representation from all the sections of the society. So, 550 from the territorial constituencies, 2 from the Anglo-Indian community, which is appointed by the president. Also, it sees to it that its members are some seats are reserved for the members belonging to the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes. Let us see about Rajya Sabha, which is the second house. Lok Sabha is called as the lower house and the first house. Rajya Sabha is called as the upper house and the second house of the parliament. Now, in Lok Sabha, members were directly elected, but here in Rajya Sabha, the members are indirectly elected. See, as the name suggests, Rajya Sabha gives representation to 29 states and 7 union territories in India. So, from the members are elected from these 29 states and the 7 union territories. What are the total membership of number of members in Rajya Sabha? That is, earlier in Lok Sabha we learned it is 550 plus 2, that is 552. But in Rajya Sabha the total membership is 250. How? 238 members are elected from the constituent states and the union territories, but the remaining 12 members are again appointed by the president. Now, from which section are they appointed? These are the members who are very well experienced and they are distinguished personalities from the field of literature, art, science, sports, social work, etc. So these members, 238 plus 12, that is 250 members are appointed. Okay, the total membership of Rajya Sabha is 250. Another specialty or peculiarity of Rajya Sabha is it never gets dissolved completely. And that is the reason why it is called as a permanent house. Why it is called as a permanent house? Because it is never dissolved. Now, why it is not dissolved? Because one third members of the total membership of Rajya Sabha, after they complete their 6 years time period, they retire after every 2 years. Once they complete 6 years, every 2 years, that many number of members, when they retire, are replaced by a fresh set of members. So, one third members retire after every 2 years, after completing the 6 years, and uh, the number of members are freshly, newly appointed members are there in the Rajya Sabha. What is the qualification for the being the member of a Rajya Sabha? Now, any person who wants to contest for the elections of Rajya Sabha compulsorily has to be an Indian citizen. He cannot be a citizen of another country. He has to be a citizen of Indian India, and he must have completed 30 years of age. So minimum age criteria is 30 years. So two qualification. One is he should be an Indian citizen. Secondly, he should have completed 30 years of age. Now, what are these members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha called? They are called as MPs. You must have heard members of parliament, MPs. So the members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, they both are called as MPs. The MPs try to resolve the queries. What is their duty? To solve the questions and complaints of their particular area by raising questions in the parliament. In the parliament, they discuss about the problems that they face in their particular area, and they get funds from the government. So the government allocates them funds to carry out the various development activities in their respective constituencies or areas. Say for example they have water problem, they put this problem in the front of the parliament and they discuss about it and they get the funds approved for giving water facility to the areas that they are appointed from. The next topic is how do this parliament function, or what are the functions of parliament? So basically there are three main functions of the parliament. One is formulation of laws, that is making laws. Second is having a control over council of ministers, to check to see whether the council of ministers do their work properly or not. Thirdly, amendments to the constitution. Amendments are changes to the constitution. Let us see in detail all these three functions. First is the formulation of laws. See, the parliament has formulate new laws, or parliament has got the right to make new laws. Why does it do? In order to achieve welfare of the people, for the benefit of the people, and also to achieve the objectives of the constitution. Now, what are the objectives of the Constitution? Justice, equality, liberty, etc. So, um, government sees to it, or the parliament sees to it, that the objectives of the Constitution are fulfilled and they take care of the people. So, while making laws, they keep both these things in their mind. Also, outdated laws are repealed, necessary changes are made in some laws. So, they discard or throw away the old laws, and if need be, they will include changes in some of the laws that they make. So, their main duty is to make laws, formulate laws. Second duty, or the second function of the parliament, is to have control over the council of ministers. Now, the head of the council of ministers is the PM, the prime minister. So, parliament exercises control over the PM and the council of ministers. How? By checking if they disregard the parliament and its function. That is, if they work as per the rules and regulations of the parliament. So, Parliament exercises full control over these Council of Ministers and their head, that is the PM, Prime Minister. They check if they do their work properly or not. The third function of the Parliament is making changes in the Constitution, that is, amendments to the Constitution. Now, the Parliament decides whether to make a particular change or not, and why this change is required, and also it decides whether they should accept this particular change or not accept, and that too how? By either a simple majority or by a special majority, which is two-third members. Okay, so the parliament has the right to make changes in the constitution, and it discusses why the change is needed, whether and should they accept it or no, and how they should accept it. So we studied the functions of the parliament, which is formulation of laws, control over council of ministers, and amendments to the constitution. Let us see the person in charge of both these houses. Now, as far as Lok Sabha is considered, the speaker is the person who heads the Lok Sabha. So, from among the members of the Lok Sabha, they will elect one person as the speaker and one more person as to assist him, that is the deputy speaker. So there is a speaker and a deputy speaker. Then the Lok Sabha functions under the guidance and the control of this speaker. So the speaker will guide and will control the Lok Sabha. So after getting elected as a speaker, what is his or her duty? He or she has to conduct the business of the house in an unbiased manner. Unbiased is without any showing any partiality. So he has to see to it that they carry out the work of the Lok Sabha without any partiality, giving equality to all. The speaker has to maintain the decorum and dignity of the house. It has to see that the speaker has to see that the Lok Sabha works as per the discipline, okay, and also the speaker interprets the rules of daily functioning of the house. He is the one who will give instructions how daily the house should be conducted, the Lok Sabha should be conducted, and it works in accordance with it. So the speaker has to maintain the decorum and the dignity of the house, also to interpret the rules and work accordingly. About the Lok Sabha, we had speaker as the main person. Likewise, in Rajya Sabha, we have the chairman who heads the Rajya Sabha. So the chairman exercises control over the functioning of Rajya Sabha. In Lok Sabha, we had speaker. In Rajya Sabha, we have the chairman. Now, who becomes the chairman of Rajya Sabha? It is the vice president who will become the ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. Now, why is ex officio chairman? What is the meaning of it? Ex officio means somebody who is already holding one particular post and holds another post. That means dual post. So the vice president will hold the vice president's post as well as the post of the chairman of Rajya Sabha. So he holds dual position. That is why ex officio chairman is mentioned. What is his duty? His duty is to again maintain the discipline and the decorum of the house, facilitate or allow people to discuss about their problems, and give each member a chance to speak. Sometimes a particular member of a parliament uh, speaks too much, consumes the time allotted to somebody else. So at that particular time, the Rajya Sabha chairman is the one who will tell him, okay, time's up. Now the next time slot is available for another minister. So he is the one who will allot the timings and give the members a chance to speak about the problem. Will facilitate discussions and will take care that the house works in discipline. Next slide, let us see how does the parliament make laws. Now earlier we learned the parliament has the right to make laws, change laws. So how does the parliament make law? Okay, the parliament has got the full authority or is empowered to make laws, okay, and to formulate them. A certain system has been adopted. There is a particular system which is adopted, and this system is called as a law making procedure. A rough draft of the law is prepared initially. Like you have rough and the fair work, a rough draft of the law. They write the law in rough and is prepared initially. And this draft or outline is known as the draft proposal of the law, or you can also call it as the bill of the law. Bill of law. So first they have the rough draft, which goes to the parliament, and after all those stages, it becomes a law. Now let us see what are those stages and how many types of bills are there. There are two types of bills which are primarily introduced in the houses of parliament, that is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. One is money bill, it is purely related to finance. Second is ordinary bill. Any bill which is not related to finance can come under the ordinary bill. So there are two types of bill. One is money bill and ordinary bill. So money bills are introduced and passed only in the Lok Sabha first. So if it is a money bill, it has to be introduced first time in the Lok Sabha. It also gets passed in the Lok Sabha. Whereas an ordinary bill can be passed or introduced in any of the houses. It can be introduced in either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Let us see how does a bill become a law. So we had a rough draft proposal which is called as a bill. How does that bill become a law? There are certain procedures to be followed. Okay, there are four steps to be followed to make a bill a law. The first stage is the first reading, then it enters the second stage, which is the second reading, followed which is the third reading, and finally it goes to the president for its assent or approval and the signature of the president. So let us see all these four in detail. We go to the first stage of making a law, that is the first reading. The first reading in here consists of members of the parliament who presents the bill, or a particular minister of a concerned department will present that particular bill. Now, how will he present? He will read it briefly, he will explain it in detail, and that is called as the first reading. So the minister of the concerned department or ministry or member of the parliament presents the bill, and briefly explains its structure. That is, briefly explaining in detail while presenting it, and this is called as the first reading. So, in the first reading, the minister presents the bill and explains. We go to the next stage, that is the second reading. Second reading has two stages. Now, in this, the first stage of the second reading is the objectives of the proposed bill are discussed. Now, what are the objectives? Aims. Aims of the proposed bill are discussed, and the members in the House express their opinion on it. Okay? So, the members in the House they will express how there will be some who will be supporting this particular bill, some who will not support. The one who support the bill will give favorable opinions, and the other people who do not support are called as opponents. They will try to find faults in it, defects in it, and they will discuss these defects and these faults in the bill. And after the discussions, the bill is then sent to a committee of the House. So there is a special committee, committee which is formed of certain members, and this particular bill, after discussions, it will go to the committee. Then the committee will sit and they will make a report consisting of the instructions which they have to follow, and they might recommend something, they might add something to it. They might give certain instructions to them, which is sent to the House in order to make the bill flawless, that is without any mistakes. So the committee then makes all these recommendations and instructions so that every part is discussed well, so that no portion of the bill remains without untouched. That is, every section of the bill is discussed in detail so that the bill will become flawless without mistakes, so that it becomes ready for making being a law. Now the second phase of the second reading now begins here. In this second phase of the second reading, the bill is discussed clause by clause. Clause by clause is word by word, sentence by sentence. They will they will finely discussed, discuss about it. Members can suggest changes. So if the members, if they feel there has to be some change in a particular statement that is made, in a particular clause that is made, the members can make those changes. Now, after this, then the voting happens. Voting is taken in the House. So it is put to voting, and then thereby it goes to the next stage. The third stage of making a bill a law is the third reading. Now, here again the bill is discussed briefly during the third reading. Again, it is put to voting for approval of the bill. Now, this time, if the bill gets an assent, that is an approval by the required majority, so not only one or two, it should have a majority of people. It is a majority minority. Majority of the people should give approval for it. Okay, we are approving it. Then that particular bill is considered as passed by the House. Okay, it is passed by the House, and the bill undergoes the same procedure even in the other house. Say, for example, if it has started in the Lok Sabha, all these procedures they will have to undergo in the Rajya Sabha. There also all these procedures will be undergone, and finally, when both these houses give their approval by voting, then it becomes a law. After getting an approval by both the houses, the bill is further sent for assent by the principal, by the president. Sorry, the bill is further sent for assent, means it is further sent for the approval of the president. Supposing if there is any difference between the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha over a particular bill, then the bill is decided, the future of the bill is decided in the joint meeting. So they keep the joint meeting of both these houses, the Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha. Both these people come together in a meeting, and then the future of this bill is discussed. If there is any differences in opinion between the Lok Sabha members and the Rajya Sabha members over a particular bill. After undergoing all these three stages, that is the first reading, second reading, and the third reading, then finally it goes to the president for his approval or his assent and his signature. So after the president gives approval by signing on the bill is converted into the law. And that is how law is made. So we saw the procedure, how a bill, a rough draft proposal becomes finally a law. I hope you have understood the lesson well. Thank you.